Hey folks, this is Will, and this is a lore episode of Dystopia Rising, Oklahoma. You'll get to learn a little bit about the broad stroke kind of history of the territory and the settlement that player characters populate. So yeah, let's get started. So Oklahoma is not referred to as Oklahoma anymore. It's called the Sequoia Wastes. Now, it absolutely lives up to that name. The Sequoia Wastes are a sandy, dusty wasteland that totally kind of capture that, road warrior, apocalyptic aesthetic, very, very Mad Max, Fury Road, modified vehicles that just exist in the desert, going over, sand and occasionally, if you're lucky, asphalt or reclaimed roads. And, structures will be buried in sand. Maybe things aren't where you thought they would have been otherwise, and the landscape is quite changed. And for the longest time in the setting, that was it. People kind of scratched out an existence as best they could, and the big exception to this were all of the folks who lived in or supported the casino fortresses that dotted the landscape all across the Sequoia Wastes. These folks didn't have to worry about as much about radiation, about running out of clean water, and because of that, they were able to capitalize on it, and they developed a financial foothold that allowed them to expand and benefit off of the opportunities that were there, and some would say the exploitation of others. Now, there was a time when the entire Sequoia Wastes was at war at one point or another. Prior to this recording, it's been about 15-ish years. So most player characters will know, at least in passing, about this war. And if you were old enough to fight, 15 years ago, you probably fought on one side or the other. You either, fought for the casinos or with one of their allies against the rather large and imposing force of Final Knights that had descended upon the territory, or you'd been conscripted by either side, not given a choice. And this went on for a while until at one point, after losing one of their very secure fortress casinos, it got torn to the ground and destroyed by the Final Knights. They were exceptionally successful. But what happened is, after this, and this is the PR that the casinos put out there, is that they all stopped fighting amongst each other and formed up to help the entirety of the Sequoia Wastes. Now, others will tell you that this is because one of their previously impenetrable fortress casinos had been, burned to the ground, destroyed, so they were scared. Yeah, I mean, that's just as true. But the people that pulled together, they stopped fighting amongst each other, and everybody, got on the same page and went after the Final Nights. And very quickly after that, maybe a little too quickly, it was over. Final Nights were running, fleeing with great speed from the Sequoia Wastes. And this newly formed Red Earth Casino Coalition, or the REC, claimed that it was them, and exclusively them, who was responsible for saving the day. Now, since then, people have discovered that that's not quite true. But far and wide, that's the story that most average members and citizens of the Sequoia Wastes, or survivors in the Sequoia Wastes. That's the story that they tend to believe, because that's the one that they've been told so many times. They're also told that there is no such thing as Final Nights in the Sequoia Wastes. And that was the truth, or at least perceived as the truth, for a very long time. Except most player characters quickly learned that that wasn't true at all. And so the cool thing about player characters in Dystopia Rising is they very often get to learn the secrets and the hidden lore of the setting well in advance of all of the casted characters. Like if it's not your personal character that you create and you portray, if it's some random member of the Asphalt Saints or random sod farmer, they're just going to know what they've been told. Your characters get the chance to form their own opinions on things and learn greater truths. And I'll share a few of those here in these recordings. But so to continue, after the Final Nights fell, and their final night in charge, a scary individual by the name of Felvik, disappeared. The RECC, the Red Earth Casino Coalition, said that they had single-handedly destroyed him forever and ever. And for the longest time, people believed that. And oddly, and nobody's quite certain why, the place where the Fortune Casino, the one casino that was successfully and completely destroyed by the Final Nights, the land around it, the land above it, it changed. And it took a while before anybody noticed this, because when the Fortune was destroyed, the people who were surviving of that, like the purebloods that used to call the Fortune Casino home, they left, and they became refugees in different casinos, and the different casino families took them in. So while this territory, this area around their casino was changing and becoming more verdant and green, nobody knew. Nobody knew for a while. That is until a group of diesel jocks came rolling through, and particular diesel jock, a little shady, but with an entrepreneurial spirit, decided that this thing that could be freely shared with everyone, to help everyone, could also be used to turn a tidy profit amongst everyone. So this this behavior wasn't typical of an asphalt saint, which is the faction that this particular diesel jock belonged to, but he thought it was worth a shot anyways. So he went to every single casino and said that he had a secret map to a green place, a place that things would grow. And you see, prior to this, there were only a handful of patches across the Sequoia Wastes that could really hold any semblance of vegetation. So the wasteland wasn't entirely wasteland, but it was pretty close. The casinos valued the ability to cultivate golf courses because that was a sign of high achievement for them. The largest golf course was a magnificent 3 holes, complete with manicured lawns, sand traps still, and people who maintained them regularly. Now, most who weren't from the casinos would probably want this green, arable, developable land to be turned into something useful for everyone. But yeah, that wasn't a thing the casinos were going to do. And hearing about all of this land, well, they opened up their purses, their pocketbooks, their wallets, and gave in abundance because they thought they were getting an exclusive deal. But what happened is this particular diesel jock made sure that he sold to every single casino for as much as they could afford. Some casinos were better off than others, so could drop a higher number of days, money, the local money. But all of them paid because all of them thought they were getting an exclusive deal. Now, after this had happened, the diesel jock quickly started selling his magical map to a place where you can actually grow things to everyone. And, you know, he was ripping people off, except by the time that the people that had bought this promise, this hope of a better place, a place where they could live, a place where they could grow things, where they wouldn't be eating sand, they didn't care. They got exactly what they wanted. A place where they wouldn't have to worry about starving every day of their life. Now, you know, it comes with all the problems of having people, but this green place very quickly became known as Verdigrift Gardens. And that's where our player characters find themselves. It is a town full of opportunity, hope, con men, grifters, you name it. It is my favorite little corner of the apocalypse, and I am happy to share it all with you. And as we continue, I'll be sharing more details. And if there's anything in particular you would like to know, feel free to ask. All right. So thank you so much, and I will talk to you soon.